Hello everybody, welcome back to the workshop. So today I want to take and just do a real quick video on why you don't want to take and burn your steel. Now everybody talks about this subject, you hear it in all the books, all online courses that you may take, every class or instructional you may take, why you don't want to burn your steel. Just don't burn your steel, just don't burn your steel, don't burn your steel. And this is something that gets said a lot repetitively, but usually people don't explain any further than that you just don't want to burn your steel. Now, I'm going to take a rod as an example piece. I'm going to forge one end out tapered without burning it, and then I'm going to forge another end out tapered where I burn it severely. And I want you guys to see the difference in the two after effects. And this will clarify the reason why you don't want to burn your steel. So thank you all for watching this video. Let's get to it. Okay, we're going to start first with the non-burnt steel. Heat it to a proper forging temperature, and we're going to forge it out to just a taper, a simple taper. I want you all to notice how clean it looks, how the surface of the material kind of refracts light when you've got a good clean forging going on here and you've planished out all your hammer blows. I'm not going to do any alterations to this end whatsoever. Again, all we're doing here is just getting it forged out. But now when I give it a good brushing, you all see what this is all about. So just give it a good brushing to get all the excess scale off. And we'll go ahead and finish this out with a few tapping planishing bolt blows. Now we got that little bit of excess scale off. And boom, a nice clean forging. You can see how it refracts that light perfectly. See if I can zoom you guys in any more. There we are. So you can see, really nice clean. The edges are very well defined. The edges right in here are very well defined and crisp. You don't see any breakage of the edge. Everything's nice and clean. That is metal that's been brought to a good forging heat and has been forged and then kind of cleaned up properly at the proper heat. So now we're going to flip it around. We're going to do the burned portion. Okay, so now I'm grinding this out and I am ridiculously burning this. I've got all these sparks. So I'm going to come out and I'll come right to the anvil. You're going to see what happens here. So a lot of times you'll see people forge welding like this with tons of sparks, a big blistery ball of sparks and whatnot, and that's them burning the piece. That is way above forge welding temperature, and that has way too much oxygen in it to be any good. But I'm going to hammer this down here, and we'll see if this becomes abundantly apparent just yet. It kind of already is right there at the tip. You can kind of hopefully start seeing that split showing up. I don't know if I'm still in focus here. Hopefully I'm in focus. You can start seeing that split show up. But we're going to keep hammering this down. And hopefully you guys can start seeing what's happening here. Now, can you refine this quite a bit? Yes, you can. You can refine it quite a bit. But I'm going to show you where the things are going to start showing up. Your issues are going to start showing up on you. So now, as far as I'm going to go with that, because I want you all to be able to see the defects that are happening here instead of me just beating them closed. Doing this demonstration to show you all the difference between the two. Okay? So, if you look right here, there's this rough patch of material. This is where the material was melted away in the forge. And right here there's a cold lap, like a crack. If anybody can see that just right, if I can get in the right lighting. There's a cold lap, like a crack that's coming right down through here. And then if you look at this edge, see how that edge is not as clean and rough? And down here, there's a small, if I can get in the right lighting, hopefully you guys can see it. There's a very small little crack right here on the edge. You may say, well, that doesn't look too bad, doesn't look too shabby. what's the big deal? Not to mention the splitting at the end here. If you guys can see that or not, there's a little bit of splitting right there. Right there at the very, very, very end. You can start seeing that. And now you guys can start seeing the crack back here a little bit. And the one right there. Okay? So you might at first say, at first glance, if you were to look at this, you may say to yourself, not a big deal, right? What's all the hubbub about, right? What's all the hullabaloo? Well, now I'm going to go ahead and heat this up. And I just wanted to show this to you. So now I'm going to heat this thing up and I'm going to bend it. And we're going to bend it over at the horn. And you're going to see where this is going to really take place then. So if I can get out my own light here, get this light shifting around. So there's the end that's been forged cleanly without any mistake of burning it. Here's the end that was burnt. Not near as clean of a job forging. Right there you've got where you're missing some material right in this area. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat this up, and with a rawhide mallet, so I'm not changing dimension any, I'm going to bend this over the horn of the anvil in this direction, and I'm going to do the same on the good clean end, and then we're going to compare the two. And so this way you can see where burning your material will cause you problems later on down the road. Even though you can hammer it and it looks clean, it looks like a clean forging afterwards because you can planish out that surface material, the structure has been ruined of that material. That's why they say if you burn it, just cut it off and redo. So I'll move the camera, we'll get over to the horn of the anvil, and I'll show you what I mean. So, first things first, starting with tradition, we are just going to bend the one that we did not burn first. I want you to see how nicely this turns out after we get it bent here. And we're just going to try to bend them both about equal, just so you can see. You know, this isn't a scientific test to straighten this out, this bend out a little bit. This isn't meant to be a scientific test or anything. Not trying to show off grain structure of steel, and I'm not going to break out my Spectron microscope and all this other goodness, gracious stuff. I'm just bending it. Simple bend, simple test. Just showing you all why you don't burn your steel, or why you don't want to bring it out at sparkling temperatures. So clean this up, and there we are. So it's still just as shiny as the time I bent it. The edges are still just as crisp as before I bent it. And that is a really good looking forging there. If you're bending that, that's a professional job of it. So now we're going to take the part that's been burnt and we're going to bend it, and so you can see how that looks. So we've got this next piece at a bending heat, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to bend it. Trying to do it to about the same degree if we can. And now mind you, this is not a drastic bend. Let me bring this up here and straighten it out. Lost control of it out of the tongs. Give me a second. Trying to straighten it out at the anvil a little bit. This grip back on here. Alright, good enough. Start hammering it again. Alright, and so now there's that bent. Now what this will showcase is, if you look at this one, look at our original bend. Let me grab a little different pair of tongs so I can hold it right in the center, so I can showcase what I'm talking about. Alright, here we go. So what this will showcase is this very simple effect. This is the fact. This here is a clean forging. This is professional. This looks good. This what makes your ironwork compete with all those others out there. Is a good clean forging straight off the anvil. This here, although you could consider that you got that done, and it looks generally alright. We'll just say generally alright. Back you up just a little bit so you can get a little more in the picture here. The problems with this that elude most is the fact that if you look right there on that edge, there's a crack. Clear, right here. That there is a failure point. That's a stress riser. That tip will eventually break off. As where this may not be as important in like ornamental work, where you can just grind things off and kind of just clean it up and fake it till you make it. It is kind of important if this was something like a logging hook, or if this was meant to be a chain that you've just forge welded and you're leaving these type of stress risers in it. That's going to be a failure point, and that could end up hurting somebody. If you're having something where it's holding or suspending a pot above somewhere, it's going to hurt somebody. That pot could drop off. There's that crack showing up clearly across here, as you can see. Okay? As you can see, there's a crack showing up clearly right across this area, right in here. That little rough patch we were talking about. Those there are stress risers, and those will not take strain or take load. They may for a while, but they will eventually fail. And that's why it's important to take and have good clean forgings. That is also why it's important not to burn your forgings, because you just can't get good clean forgings if you burn them. You can see that crack already appearing right across here as the material cools down. And I think if you look at this isn't that severe of a bend. But let's say you were working on an S-hook and you were to hammer that S-hook on around and you're bending out that little rat's tail on the end and you just burnt the end of it. That little rat's tail is going to break off. It'll break off before you ever get it bent. And then what? You know, you're kind of you're at a loss. That's why they say don't burn your material. It seems like it's a subtle difference, but it is huge in the long run as far as safety is concerned if you're building anything that has to be structural. And it's pretty serious in the effect of, you know, just good clean ironwork that you may be potentially trying to sell to someone. That side rough, that side clean. This side rough, this side clean. And I could always brush this real good, give it a good shine, and all it's going to do is highlight all the inconsistencies on the surface of the material. You can see that burn right there, as where on this one that I've brushed, you can't see any burns at all. You can't see any burns. It's perfectly clean. Clean. Not clean. Sorry, trying to angle it for the camera so the light hits it. So you can see the difference there. So hopefully that makes sense to you. If it did, give this a big thumbs up. Thank you for watching this video. And like I always say, God bless you, and we will catch you on the next one. I hope this helped.